Hello and welcome to the Checking the Gate podcast. I am your host, Doug Ferguson, and here I have with me... Drumroll.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Ferguson. Yes. I have been on this podcast before. I am the co-host of the Music A to Z podcast and one of the producers of NSHG Films and a theater manager and someone who's just finished the first season of Arrested Development.
Oh. I thought you'd be talking more, so I took a big bite of my sandwich.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Nate has this long-standing rule on the Fallen Age show.
I know, but I'm so hungry. Mm-hmm. How was Arrested Development?
Really funny. It took me a long time to get into it, in part because it took me a long time to start watching it. It's really funny. I love the fact that their lawyer, who is this lecherous, complete incompetent, is played by the Fonz. That makes me laugh.
I keep forgetting his name.
I keep thinking his name is Arthur Fonzarelli, but no, that was his character's name.
No, the other I want to say Harvey something. Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler, yeah. So the lawyer is played by Henry Winkler, and he's lecherous, not in the way that you would think, and immoral, but completely incompetent. But he always has a smile on his face, and he's hilarious. He's definitely one of my favorite characters on the show, and I love Job, played by Will Arnett, who's also amazingly hilarious.
It's one of those shows that I just haven't gotten around to watching yet.
There's only 4 seasons, so it's not like a huge monumental task. The Bluth daughter, played by Portia de Rossi, I said to Jess, hey, she's kind of hot. And Jess says, yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree. That's Ellen DeGeneres' wife. Mm-hmm. Wrong tree. But she is kind of hot.
Well, good job, Ellen.
Oh, yeah, completely. Bang on job, Ellen. I also, I'm finishing up Misfits, the BBC series. Yeah, the 4th season I haven't been too impressed with, but I figured I'd finish it up anyways. Yeah, I think it should have ended after the first 3 seasons. I know some people say after season 2, when the Irish bloke, whose name I've forgotten, left. But you know what? I think the 3rd season is just fine as well, and it's actually, because time travel is involved, spoilers, it forms a complete circle.
Yeah, I've been just watching The Walking Dead, finished season 4.
I saw a very partial spoiler that someone... I'm part of this Facebook group called 50 Shades of Geek, and spoilers are allowed. Someone posted, though, in all caps, like, oh, OMG, I can't believe this and this person. Oh, yeah, spoilers. Oh, no. And I saw a bit of that. It could mean a few different things, but based on the direction that season 4 is heading, I don't know. So I'm watching it very tentatively because... and then of course, Doug, you didn't help when you said, "Oh yeah," when you come to me with tears in your eyes. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I mean that's how the show rolls, man. It's very emotional and involving. But anyway, yeah, I've been quite into the show. There's a lot of backlash against it these days, and to which I'm like, why?
Yeah,
I haven't noticed any significant decline in the quality of the show. Still gets you to love people.
It could honestly be because it's popular, it's really popular, and it's carved out a niche for itself. And I think there's a bit of this countercultural thing. Is that some people liked it at first because it was kind of an underdog series. It was AMC, sponsored series, and it was the little series that could. It was doing what a lot of series had tried to do before and take a very successful comic book format, really give it a hell of a rewrite and a facelift. It's not very true, faithful to it, and it never claims to be, and to make a go out of it. And they had a very short first season where they were constantly questioning if they were going to be canceled or not. And now they're wildly successful. And actually, truthfully, this kind of takes me up too, because I also watched Comic Book Men, which is on AMC, which is really funny. It's about Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash.
Oh, yeah.
And Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson and stuff who work there. And it's really funny, and I really enjoy it. But the PVR records a minute before and a minute after to make sure it gets the whole thing.
Right.
And they play The Walking Dead right before and right after.
And right after.
Now, here's the problem, is that if you suddenly start the recording, you see a face. And this is from an episode I haven't seen yet. So instantly, oh, that guy's still alive. Bingo, bango, bongo. But I mean, AMC milks The Walking Dead. I think this also contributes to the backlash against it. AMC milks the hell out of it, and it's really frustrating because it's basically like every time there's a commercial break, they mention The Walking Dead, and now for an AMC encore presentation of The Walking Dead. It's like, Is it an encore presentation? Because I'm pretty sure you do this every week.
I mean, I don't know any other series that are really big for them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's basically it.
So, I don't know.
The trick is, though, you can't begrudge the series for the way it's marketed. You can't. You can begrudge the marketers. You can begrudge AMC, and I think AMC they're not helping. They're not. They found their prize cattle, and they are parading it up and down the street over and over and over again. And eventually, people are just like, I'm tired of seeing that damn cow out my window.
Gotta watch out for cows. Apparently, that's all I have to contribute to that.
So we know a thing or two about television and entertainment.
Yeah, hopefully. So I'm gonna give a quick upfront apology because I'm kind of recovering from a cold, so I don't know if I'm gonna sound as coherent.
When we did the Weird Al episode of Music A to Z, I was feeling that way. I just come up the stairs, and I was so winded because of how diminished my lung capacity was. But, have faith, Doug. It actually genuinely doesn't sound too bad upon playback.
Okay.
It'll probably sound okay.
Well, in any case, if it sounds like I'm wheezing or sneezing or coughing, it's because I am. So, yeah, but we have a very interesting kind of movie to do. We're going to talk about today on the Checking the Gate podcast. Mm-hmm. It's never had a theatrical release.
No.
It was a made-for-TV film,
mm-hmm.
but I think that we can count it in because it's a movie. It's over.
It was presented in that format. It was Fox's late night movie presentation,
mm-hmm.
or whatever. So it was counted as a TV movie, even though it was a backdoor pilot.
It is a feature film,
mm-hmm.
As it's over an hour long. It's 85 minutes.
It is far too short.
But we're going to be talking today about I guess it's just called Doctor Who. But it's to be more specific, it's Doctor Who, maybe in brackets 1996. It was a made-for-TV movie starring Paul McGann and
Eric Roberts,
that guy.
Daphne Ashbrook.
Yeah, as if you know. What else has Daphne Ashbrook done?
She has made the rounds for a lot of science fiction series. She was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I believe she was on X-Files. Actually, she holds the distinction of being one of the only, certainly at the time, not as much now, there's a lot more crossover now, but being one of the only actors to cross between Doctor Who and the Star Trek universe.
Okay.
Now there's been a lot more. But,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should also quickly back up and say to not confuse this with the Peter Cushing movies. There were two theatrically released Doctor Who movies.
Oh, they're theatrical release.
They were theatrical release. The first one was very successful, Doctor Who and the Daleks. Peter Cushing, again, better known for his Hammer horror films. He played Doctor Who, not the Doctor. These are non-canonical films because he is a human. And they basically were kind of rehashes of a couple of the story arcs. They were going to do a third one based off of the serial The Chase, which would have been interesting. I don't know how they would have adapted that, but the Daleks chasing the Doctor through time and space. But the second movie did not perform as well. What was it? Dalek Invasion 2162 or something like that? The second one.
Yeah, Dalek
Invasion Earth
2150 AD. Yeah, I've never seen these ones. And
Space plays them occasionally.
Basically it's sort of like it's a reimagining of the original Doctor Who pilot, or not the pilot, but their first Dalek adventure. Yeah, they seemed kind of unnecessary, and for the most part they've been kind of forgotten.
Yeah,
especially since now like Doctor Who canon is bigger than ever, and everyone people are only kind of starting to count the older stuff in with the newer stuff, but I guess because there's been a lot of work to kind of like integrate it together.
I will say though that the Dalek designs were really good compared to the television show. They had a budget for the movies. The TARDIS set is, and this will link to the '96 movie as well, vast reimagining, completely different, more like a laboratory.
Okay.
Than the television show. I saw the first. Or actually, I think I saw both. Not too impressed, to be honest. I mean, Peter Cushing's fine, but I mean, it did seem very obvious to me that they were kind of, on the whole, just milking the concept. Although, interestingly enough, Bernard Cribbins is in the second one as, I can't remember the companion's name, but then he showed up later with the 10th Doctor as Donna's grandfather.
Bernard Cribbins says Tom Campbell.
Yeah, Tom Campbell.
Okay.
So he's the companion in the which is strange. So I mean, if in case you don't know, Doctor Who started in '63, went until '89, then due to various reasons, then went off the air for TV. But and the BBC had no interest really in bringing it back.
Yeah.
But an American, I think he's a British expat, like he was born in the UK and then raised in the U.S. Sorry, Philip David Siegel. He had been making the rounds through, actually, I think, quite a few studios, all the while kind of carrying the rights for Doctor Who. And BBC Worldwide, who are not BBC Worldwide are distributors, and they just like shipping stuff off. They had always loved Doctor Who, because Doctor Who made them tons of money overseas. But the BBC were in charge of producing and airing the show. Not really big fans by the late 80s.
Oh yeah, I mean the for this movie to be made, and now we're just to confirm we're back on the 1996 television movie. They jumped through so many hoops. There's a whole like it's a really fascinating story if you get the DVD, the special features. They go through the whole process, and it sounded like a nightmare. But yeah, the late 80s, after Doctor Who was canceled, with Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor, the BBC, for the most part, wanted to write this whole series off and say, like, okay, well, you know what? It's done. It's not popular anymore. This Doctor wasn't liked. The previous Doctor wasn't liked. So I think that, like, this show has run its course. But this guy, Philip David Siegel, he really believed in the project. And it really shows, like, how much he wanted this to be. I think he wanted it to be the return of Doctor Who as a whole, right?
Yeah. So there was a lot of coordinating. Like Amblin was attached to this for quite a while. Steven Spielberg, and he wanted to do kind of like Doctor Who, but unfortunately, every time people kept on repitching it to him, they kept starting to turn it into Indiana Jones,
which is kind of strange. Like it's hard to make Doctor Who into Indiana Jones. I don't know what they were doing.
I think really because they were trying to like appeal to him, say, well, he's done this before, he'd like this. But the thing is that Steven Spielberg had already done that. And he wasn't interested in doing it again. He liked the kind of the strange, mysterious mythos of time and space. And then you start to see concept art of just like sort of this adventurer's quarters and a desert and a jungle and stuff like that. And then even though he wasn't attached to projects, he was mentioned as being interested. Then some publicity got out that he was attached when he wasn't, and he's trying to focus on other projects. And so, I mean, eventually he backed out. But it's in some of the concept art, it does look very un-Doctor Who. Some of it's interesting, though. Like, they were going to completely redesign the Daleks to be frightening, to be like they come out as these sort of hovering machines, but then they kind of open up into sort of like spidery, I don't want to say crabs, but spiders with like a sort of an upper robot android sort of figure, just interesting stuff like that. And that sort of reimagining, I mean, even I would have been totally fine with that as well. It's a sign to modernize a little more.
I mean, part of me is kind of glad that the movie didn't want going in that direction, but I mean, although I think the movie probably would have been really interesting, I think it wouldn't have necessarily worked within like the Doctor Who canon, and it probably would have been an entity all of its own, separate from everything else.
The part of the issue is that they wound up going through Fox. And Fox was having a lot of success with X-Files at the time.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was right around that time.
Yeah. And I think they were season 3 X-Files at this point. And the show was really big for them. But the problem is that you can see it in the tone of this film. I kind of liken it to an older Outer Limits, not the 60s Outer Limits, but like the first couple seasons of the 90s Outer Limits. I kind of liken it to that as well. The tone, the music, the way it's shot, the dark filters, stuff like that. It feels very much like it's treading that ground. A lot of money also was spent on the TARDIS interior, which I love that TARDIS interior. I think it's great, but they spent $1 million on it.
$1 million.
They spent $1 million on it. It's
gotta be like half their budget. I mean,
well, it was a substantial portion of the budget.
It's interesting because the TARDIS wasn't in it that much, really.
Yeah, that's the sad thing.
And
the problem is that after the production, the set went missing. So
how do you just lose a set?
I have no idea. I think they probably boxed it up and were going to put it in storage, and then it got lost somewhere. But I mean, that console was gorgeous, and there were a lot of really nice ideas in that TARDIS set.
Well, I think it really set the stage for like what the TARDIS set would be in the future Doctor Who show, because it was unlike, I mean, in any of the previous incarnations, the TARDIS set was really quite simple.
Well, this is part of the issue as well, is that like the original show, especially in the 60s before it took off overseas, they acknowledged their budget limitations and said we have to make sure that we have a good story. And they focused primarily on the scripts.
Right.
I think the movie went the other direction. They said, let's make this look as great as... And it looks good.
For the most part.
I mean, 96 as well, right?
Yeah. That's true. And also, like, for Ford's budget, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But... they were having tons of rewrite issues. Scriptwriter after scriptwriter came in, kept handing over treatments. I mean, thank God they got rid of a lot of really bad treatments. Like they mentioned a few of them, and they just sounded awful.
Because they were working with BBC Worldwide, Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox. So there's a lot of names or a lot of companies attached to the project that I think that's there's no way you could get like you can't really please everyone.
Siegel even said himself that there were times he had to lie to some of the companies because they would want conflicting things. Like right. BBC Worldwide would demand one thing, and Fox would literally demand the opposite. So he would have to pick and lie to one of them.
Yikes!
Yeah,
not a good position to be in.
No, it's an unfortunate position to be in. Another issue that I had with it, and that a lot of people have had with it, is that they wanted to kind of do away with being bogged down with some of the Doctor Who mythos, and just kind of wanted it to be simple, and somehow failed spectacularly at that. They talk about the Eye of Harmony and Gallifrey, and the Master comes out in the Gallifreyan robes, and are talking about regeneration, this, that, and for a first-time viewer, you're gonna sit there like, what is going on?
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's going on because so the story, I guess this is one of the things I like. It actually starts with the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy.
Interestingly enough, the BBC did not want Sylvester McCoy. They wanted Tom Baker.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it would have really mucked with continuity because Tom Baker was popular, right?
Right.
Luckily that was one of the things the Siegel ignored. Because they said, no, bring Tom Baker. But Siegel's intention was always to place it in continuity.
Yeah, and I think all in all, that wound up being a good long-term investment. Mm-hmm. Because, again, if he wanted this to be a pilot, then, like, you'd instantly, the fans of the show would be like, why? I don't understand. Like, what the hell's going on? I don't even think Tom Baker would have even agreed to it, personally.
By mid-90s, really hard to say.
Yeah, but, I mean, that point has been, like, I want to say, like, 10, 20 years.
20 years since, 15, 20 years, I guess, something like that.
Yeah. Almost immediately, the Doctor's gunned down because he runs into a gang, and she's brought into a surgery from a doctor, the Grace Holloway, who is confused by his alien anatomy and kind of accidentally kills him.
She thinks it's a mistake. She thinks it's a double exposure, which apparently from a technical standpoint, there's nothing what like a double exposure looks like. But so she sticks in a probe to go take a look at his heart, and she accidentally kills him.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy. So yeah, he's not killed by the gunshots. He's killed by the surgery.
Yeah,
because no one was listening to him going like, "Listen, I'm not human." Oh, but the Doctor was carrying some cargo. Mm-hmm. He was carrying the remains of the Master, his arch nemesis and fellow Time Lord, who it was put on trial by the Daleks out of all
Strangely enough, yeah.
out of all characters.
Now, the Daleks would probably kill the Master, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would they allow the Doctor to come and get his remains and transport with Geoffrey? No. No, that is strange.
I think they'd probably just shoot him and kill him.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's the only thing that makes any sense to me, but I don't even think they'd bother with the trial. They'd be like, "You are a Time Lord," and then shoot him.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, a little bit of continuity if you watch the beginning where during Paul McGann's voiceover, when he's talking about the Master, you see 2 yellow eyes. This is actually a continuation from the last serial from Doctor Who, Survival, in which the Master is infected with the cheetah virus, the cheetah planet virus.
So somehow the ooze that is the Master escapes, and
yeah, no one has a good answer for what that is.
Okay, you know what? Okay, so no, I'll get into it later. Okay, okay. So the ooze finds its way onto an ambulance driver, a paramedic, and takes over the body of Eric Roberts, and now he wants. Now, this is where I get confused, because I don't exactly know what the Master wants to do.
He wants to steal the Doctor's remaining regenerations, because he even says that the body is too weak. This was actually then referenced later with the 10th Doctor. Did you see when the Dr. Donna thing? Donna Noble, she gains all that time, the half Time Lord stuff inside of her.
Yeah.
It starts burning her out. It's called a Time Lord human meta crisis, and starts burning her out, which was basically happening to the Master in this one.
Oh, okay. So there's a little bit of continuity there as well.
Yeah.
Somehow this involves the Eye of Harmony, which is now huge.
Which is on the TARDIS now, which is strange.
And then they open things, and the world is going to blow up, and Grace the Doctor quits her job and is like, you know what? I'm just going to love this guy for some reason. The Doctor regenerates. This is all out of order. I'm just kind of trying to recall things as they come to my head. But and so he's alive and a little confused and just trying to stop.
In fairness to Doug here, the script is a mess.
Yeah.
Legitimately, it has an 85-minute runtime, and they squeeze in so much, and you are literally. It takes a couple viewings to figure out why things are actually happening the way they are. And usually there's like ADR, like where the Master says that the body that he's now in is too weak, he has to get another one. That was ADR'd in later to help provide some clarity as to what was going on. And you can tell because his back is facing the camera, he's facing out the window, then you just hear, this body's too weak. You know, I mean, it's so fast, right?
Yeah, and I think that's sort of one of the things that really doesn't work for me in this movie is that for what this movie should have been, it's way too convoluted, and it skims over some things, and then spends too long on other things that aren't important.
Yes, like the car chases. Why do we need so many freaking motorcycle and car chases? Right, when we could use some genuine more plot.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I know the reason why. The reason why is that so people watching it, you know, it's like, oh hey, a car chase. You know, it's hitting those times in the script when you're supposed to have excitement or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess let's talk about what is that what did you like about this film?
Casting of Paul McGann was through and through excellent and an inspired choice. They said that the number one reason they cast him was for the movie With Nail and I. Have you seen it yet?
I have not.
With Nail and I has some super strong connections to Doctor Who. It stars both Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant. Richard E. Grant, who he had auditioned for the part of the Doctor many times. He played the Doctor, the 9th Doctor, in Scream of the Shalka, which was official. It was an animated web series. It was official continuity until the 2005 relaunch. And most recently, he's played the Great Intelligence in series 7 of Doctor Who. And also in Curse of the Fatal Death, when Rowan Atkinson played the Doctor, he regenerated into Richard E. Grant. So Richard E. Grant has had a lot of Doctor Who. And
he's the closest thing to being the Doctor apart from being the Doctor.
Without actually being the Doctor. Yeah. I was hoping he would. Actually, he's getting to be a little too old, and he's actually doing more movies now. He was most recently in with Jude Law.
Oh yeah, Don Hemingway.
Don Hemingway. Yeah, he was in Don Hemingway. Yeah. Anyways, if you get a chance to watch With an L and I, it's good. It's a legitimately really really nice black British comedy, and Paul McGann 100% an absolute charmer in that movie, and very earnest, very expressive. And so the casting of him as the Doctor was bloody inspired, and probably saves this film on a couple levels. Yeah, he owns it. He owns the parts. People liked him so much. I mean, there was such demand for him in the audio dramas, and
oh yeah, he did the audio dramas for years.
When the 2005 series was launched, people were like, "Is Paul McGann in it?" They wanted him in it, and there was consistent. I mean, he's always a regular at the conventions where people adore him, and he's apparently just an absolute charmer. And there was such consistent demand for some more Paul McGann that they finally included him for the special for the 50th anniversary.
I'm glad they did. I thought that was a great move. Adds to the whole like mythos, and because I mean the whole time I was wondering like whatever happened to that doctor, like who knows. I do agree with you. I think Paul McGann was really great, like a great performance. Selecting a doctor is a tricky thing, and he didn't have the time to own the part the way that like a lot of the actors did. Like I mean most of the actors had like 3 years minimum. I think there was.
Colin Baker did
2 years.
But the average is 3?
Yeah. So he had one movie to accomplish. I mean, imagine if he had time with the character, how good he could have been. He could have been one of the best doctors, period.
I think so.
But over the span of like 90 minutes, he does a pretty good job. Like he does a bang up job. He instantly hooks you in, and the thing is, like, there's nothing particularly outstanding about the writing of him. I mean, he's written well enough, but it does seem like it's really performance based. His likability.
Take this scene in question. He's regenerated, and whenever the Doctor regenerates, he goes through a period where he has profound memory issues, and he's always convinced that his regeneration is failing. He's in the hospital. He's still got the coroner's tag on his toe. He's wrapped. He's just stolen the clothes that he's wearing, the Edwardian clothes, and he overhears someone say "time," and this is so stereotypical. I mean, every freaking time travel show or movie has a scene like this where he hears someone say "time." He looks over, he sees a clock, and he says "time." But you know what? I was fine with it because, I mean, the look that he got in his eyes and stuff like that, he took that really, really stereotypical, pretty much meaningless brief half scene. And you know what? It worked for me because, I mean, like, it wasn't kitsch with him. It was fine. He did a good job.
I kind of like the attire, the fact that he essentially dresses up in a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
I mean, he's supposed to be like, what was it, like
It was a New Year's ball.
It was a New Year's ball or something like that. He essentially dresses up in a costume, but it works because it's consistent with like the Doctor. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like there's no reason, like there would have been like no reason at all for him to have been dressed up like that.
Yeah. Except
in this case, it was a costume, and that was really amusing to me. It worked. That was one of the really clever things about the script that I think worked for me.
I also like Daphne Ashbrook casting. I thought she could have used more development. I thought she wasn't used very well, but the actress herself, I thought, with what she was handed, was doing just fine. And I thought, given God, if this thing went past pilot and into series, I thought she would have been great.
So yeah, things I like. I definitely liked the fact that that they did incorporate Sylvester McCoy, and I think that. Like there is some people who are, there's actually quite a large group of people who just don't really like this movie, and it's understandable why, again, because the story's a bit of a mess and it is sort of its own standalone thing that doesn't fit so well. But I think like it works better now than it did in 1996 because now that Doctor Who has continued on, you kind of see why it fits in with the continuity.
Whereas at the time, it had been 7 years since the show had ended.
Yeah,
there was no indication the show was coming back.
So as a standalone pilot, as a standalone film, where it's like maybe like the goodbye to Doctor Who, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Or even as the hello to a new series, it's not very good and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, but the thing is, like, it could have started to make more sense if it became a start of a series.
I guess so, but in that case, I would have liked to have seen this film be longer. With all that incorporated in, let's bump it up to 105 minutes. Jesus, another 20 minutes would have helped.
Possibly, or depends on how they use the 20 minutes. Really.
Well, no, true, very true. Put another damn motorcycle chase.
Yeah, but I think I kind of get it now more than I would have if I saw it before. I get because I feel like just as the show was finishing, only starting to get a feel for Grace or for Chang Li. and sort of like you start to see a bit of a mythos, a new mythos starting, but it does kind of just end, and then that's that. It just kind of leaves you're scratching your head and going like, okay, well, I guess that's it. But you see, the thing is, I never thought that the pilot to the new series was particularly strong either. I felt like the episode
Rose. Yeah.
I thought it was good for setting up the two characters,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought the story and the delivery was kind of rubbish. I mean, I hate the Autons. They don't. I just think they're the stupidest idea for a villain.
Well, they're not the dumbest, but they're not great.
Well, okay, I know that Doctor Who's had a lot of stupid villains over the other years, so
There's been some dumb ones. Well, the thing about Rose, though, I'm willing to let slide because at least it's simple. Can you imagine if they also put in a regeneration scene and then all this exposition about Gallifrey and all this, all this Time Lord backstory stuff, and just loaded it down? Like they kept it simple. They said, okay, and you're right. The focus was on the two characters and establishing that relationship.
And I think that's why it did take off.
Exactly.
Now, and that's a good point. Is that's what this one should have done?
Mm-hmm.
Is it should have like assumed that you knew nothing about the show, because when you went into watching Rose, you didn't. There was so much mystery. You didn't really need to know. Like they just dropped little pieces of information. Essentially, at the very end of the episode, he says that the Time Lords are all dead except for him.
Mm-hmm.
Big question mark is like, and you don't find.
Or was that at the end of the second episode that he said that he admitted that to her?
It could be.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time.
But that's still basically all you've got.
So very, very minimal information. Enough so that there's a level of awe and wonder, and a viewer can go in and have the chance to ask these questions themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And go like, whoa, why is this thing bigger on the inside than it is on the outside? Okay, like basically you see the Doctor through Rose's eyes, where in this one you don't really see the Doctor through Grace's eyes. You kind of have to hear through the narrator and the. I don't know. You follow around poor Paul McGann as he's confused, and I don't know. So I think it leads to more confusion than awe and mystery.
Yeah, and like I said, it required a couple viewings from me to figure out all that was going on. But I guess we're still wanting to talk about things we liked.
I guess so. Yeah. Anything else? What else worked for you?
TARDIS set I've already mentioned. I really, really liked the TARDIS set.
See, there's a lot more things I'm just kind of like, neutral about. Like things I don't like.
There's a lot of things I can link into the mythos, but as for like things specifically that stood out and said, oh wow, I like. There's unfortunately not many, which kind of saddened me when I first saw it because it was a long time before I finally got to watch it, and I had been looking forward to it.
I think there's a lot of the charm is in kind of some of the details, like some of the lesser characters are kind of endearing. You get a kind of a glimpse of characters who you'll never see them again, but at the same time it's like that was kind of fun. So there's a little bit of that. I kept thinking of Will Sasso's character Pete. Like I don't know what it was. I just maybe it's just because I recognized the face. I'm like, hey, it's Will Sasso.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
have a feeling that he probably had more things shot than were aired. Actually, that's how I feel about the whole movie.
Like maybe it was just edited to death?
Yeah, because I get a feeling there was a subplot where he was constantly being teased by his coworkers about the Doctor rising from the dead. We got like a barest glimpse of that, but I feel like there was probably a little more, and it was all cut.
I think where this does succeed is mostly within the acting, and sort of the respect for the mythos and the. Well, at least most of the mythos. I still don't understand the Daleks thing and the Master thing, but I think, yeah, its placement in the timeline is sort of more of interest to me than the actual movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you feel? What did you not like about it?
First off, casting of the Master. Someone wanted an American. I'm not inherently against an American playing it.
Well, actually, I think they even said it in the special features that then it became like they had a list of actors and it became not so much about who was perfect for the role, but who could fit their like budget constraints and still be kind of a name actor.
Yeah. You know what? And Eric Roberts fits that through and through. I mean, Eric Roberts, in case you can't think of him off the top of your head, he's been in a few good movies and a ton you probably haven't even seen.
He's probably the only actor I think of who was he was in movies that are so atrocious, like that Dead or Alive beach
movie.
Volleyball movie. Which
with what's her face from My Name Is Earl. She was in it as well. Jamie Presley, yeah. So he was in that with her. I think he played her dad or something. No.
Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares?
Yeah, he was the bad guy in that stupid movie.
And he was also in The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, yeah.
Can you believe that? Like, it's like what a weird resume. I don't know. Like, it seems like he was trying to kind of embrace the character, but was kind of like hammy evil.
There was a little too much. There was a little too much ham.
I really wanted like the Master traditionally has been really like just sinister is like one of the best words for it. He's just a really sinister character, and I don't feel like he really matched the expectations there.
The Master tends to also be paired off very well against the actor playing the Doctor. For the third Doctor, you had Roger Delgado, and those two paired off and had a really good chemistry. And then with Tom Baker, for the most part, you had this burnt-out husk, like it was a person under heavy makeup or even a bit of a puppet, with just like this burned-out sort of husk. And I liked that the look between the two of them. With the Doctor, he's tall, he's got the curly hair and the scarf, and then you have this wizened up, scarred, burnt up, like literally, he looks like a burn victim thing playing off him. And then Peter Davison had Anthony Ainley, and they had a good chemistry. So I feel absolutely nothing between Eric Roberts and visually and in terms of actor chemistry, nothing between Roberts and McGann.
I also really like the later Master who was up against David Tennant.
Oh yeah, John Sim, he kind of looks like Tom York if Tom York wasn't like mangled in the face.
He was like evil, but at the same time, like there's a sort of a desperation in his evilness. Like it's there's a bit of lunacy in there. Like he's becoming undone mentally.
And again, good chemistry with the guy with the David Tennant playing the Doctor at the time.
Excellent chemistry. I liked it.
But nothing really with these two. It's just like Eric Roberts is just kind of there, and he kind of annoys me.
Yeah. So a missed opportunity there, because I think we had a classic Doctor, if we had a really classic Master to pair up against him, maybe something would have worked that didn't work in the final product here. So, I don't know. Yeah, and what else did you know?
The script was rubbish. The Eye of Harmony, including that at all, was a mistake, because it's was introduced, I think, with the Fourth Doctor and mentioned casually. It's the source of TARDIS, the Time Lord's power, basically, that all TARDIS is linked to, and it contains a singularity inside. So some Doctor Who apologists, novelists, etc., have written that this wasn't actually the Eye of Harmony, it was just a link to the Eye of Harmony, which what makes more sense, but then you're like, why should this have even been brought up? There's no point to this. And it's also that the Master can somehow, when you have these two poles put in position, steal the Doctor's regenerations. It's convoluted and kind of ridiculous. Why can't it just be, oh, you know what, this was a trap, basically, I just want to kill you. Okay, that could have worked. So the Master sprung a trap. He just wants to kill the Doctor. The end. Yeah.
Good old-fashioned vengeance hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, vengeance hunt, and he's going to take down Earth with him if that's what it takes. Earth is the source of the trap, and the Master's going to spring it to kill the Doctor. But this whole thing of the Eye of Harmony and the regenerations and these poles and the big robes and it was a bit much. And why are there leaves on the ground inside the TARDIS? Like tons of leaves. The dried leaves. It's like autumn in there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. I guess I was too much in awe of the set in general.
And the stupid. What the hell is the deal with the Master? First, it's like slime or ooze, and then it looks like an evil worm thing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the fact that it turns into some like liquid snake thing. It's like, why?
One of the novels, the novel I read, The Eight Doctors, said that it was a native of some planet that could take your soul and go to a different one. And the Master, as part of the trap, pre-established he had swallowed it, so it would take his ass. A
almost
lot of
sounds-
explanation for...
It sounds like someone's trying to take something that makes no sense and make it make sense.
Well, that's just it. And if you read on the Master's Wikipedia page there have been at least 4 explanations. All are convoluted because it makes no sense. The term, I think, is called voodoo shark. And it comes from this. Jaws 4, in the movie, the shark has followed Chief Brody's widow down to, like, the Caribbean. And in the context of the movie, this makes no sense. So when the novelization of the movie was done, the writer said, okay, well, how am I going to explain this novel form? So he established it was a voodoo curse, which is a stupid explanation, but was better than no explanation. So this is called a voodoo shark when a writer backs himself into a corner by putting something that makes zero sense that then other people have to try to extrapolate something else, which is dumb, but better than nothing.
I almost forget that there was more than one Jaws movie. You know, it's like why would anyone care about Jaws after Jaws? You know, they blew up the shark
or something.
Yeah, and then it just gets sillier and sillier.
I want to see who the hell this voodoo master is who's putting all these curses on sharks.
Yeah. It's like, I got nothing better to do than put voodoo curses on sharks.
Well, right? I mean, come on. You know what would have been a way around this? Is like, Dalek weapons, which we've shown through the series, they kill a person, and then the person's body is still there. Well, let's say that the Doctor had to transport a body in a casket back to Gallifrey, and the Master had used some technology to make it appear that he was dead that had deflected the Dalek weaponry. Not a great explanation, but it makes more sense.
Heck of a lot better than secret ooze breaking out of a little chamber.
Yeah.
What is it? You put it in like a
little decorative wish box or something.
Yeah, like almost like you always expect to open it up and go, and it's like plays
little
music,
ballerina
ding, ding,
going
ding,
around.
ding,
Yeah,
ding, but no, it was just some voodoo snake liquid.
Voodoo snake liquid. Yeah,
and that's stupid. Like let's just get that out there.
That
is
is
one of
really...
the things I hated the most about this. Like, could you not have thought of any way to make the Master coming back to life work? Like there must have been some way to make it work. And then what you're saying makes sense. Like just have a body. Mm-hmm. Like why not? You know, it could be like a bit of a burnt up body like they had before. You know,
sure.
Like that way you don't have to like worry about like crossing over.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're right. They could have done, and that's already been pre-established. It's just like you look at this burnt out husk of a body, and somehow he's got this technology that's allowed him to survive long enough to jump into another body or something, right? I guess that really horrible CGI though was more cost effective. I once asked our stepdad what he thought the gooey snake thing was. And his thought was always that it was the essence of evil.
Well, that makes not that much sense. But okay,
it
sure.
doesn't make any less sense.
But no, I mean,
whatever. I literally couldn't say to him that's stupid because it's
like no matter what you
the
say,
best. It's the best.
I guess that's what it could be. I mean,
it could be the essence of evil.
Right.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I feel like I almost feel like they underused Sylvester McCoy. You know, like he was just kind of there. He was reading a book, and then
he got like 3 lines.
Yeah, he didn't say much, and then he got shot. And it's sort of like if you have him there, you might as well like use him a little bit. But I can also understand why they would want to like move along with the story.
Well, yeah. Sylvester McCoy in an interview, he said that he enjoyed doing it. He said that it was a pretty easy gig and a pretty nice gig. But he felt from a story standpoint he shouldn't have been in it, just because Paul McGann needed as much time to establish his character as he could get. And
that's pretty cool. Like that's kind of very selfless.
I hear you though. I like the novelty of seeing Sylvester McCoy on screen though again too.
Yeah, and again I think it's better for the long term. Like if this was the pilot that it could have been. Then it would have worked out okay.
Well, McCoy, although he said though that they should have still filmed it, but kept it as a flashback for like a later episode or something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could see that.
Which they did for the 50th anniversary. Basically, they had a flashback to Paul McGann, eighth Doctor regenerating.
Yeah, true. Which I thought that was a really good little short. I almost think that should have been longer so I could have seen more Paul McGann. But alas, didn't work.
one of the effects, obviously, there was no TV series that spun off of this in 96. It did not fare well on Fox. I don't think anyone, by the time it was all set and ready to air, I don't think anyone thought it would. It just seems like the wrong timing, the edits, the lineup it was up against. They aired it in Canada as well on not Czech TV, City. They aired it on City TV.
Oh, okay.
In Canada, and they aired it in the UK. But interestingly enough, it was really big in the UK. It got the BBC's attention in a big way. The BBC saw that and all the attention that it was going through, and I mean, it had huge ratings in the UK. In fact, the series probably would have done well if it was picked up in the UK, but it wasn't big enough in the US, who were producing it.
Yeah.
So there was enough interest. The BBC said, okay, well, we'll entertain the notion of it coming back, which didn't happen until 9 more years. But in fairness, you need a production team willing to head it. So yeah, sure, the BBC were willing to entertain it, but they weren't going to actively go out and get a production team. So at least it starts to change kind of the culture. The Doctor Who magazine and stuff like that, they switched. Like they would do like a comic with each edition, and it started the 7th Doctor. Well, that transitioned over to the 8th Doctor. The 8th Doctor started up as audio plays, which are made canon, apparently, because in that 50th anniversary Night of the Doctor, the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, before he drinks the elixir that allows him to regenerate, he says farewell to his companions from the audio dramas.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he lists those names, he adds all those. So technically, the audio dramas are canon now.
Well, that's great because that's pretty cool. I mean, because you can always think of them as like separate entities, but when they tie in, even just like through little references, it kind of helps flesh things out. And I'm cool with things like that being canon as long as they don't contradict anything. So the director was named Geoffrey Sax.
Yeah, he had kind of a hard time with it. That's interesting. Apparently, he directed the 2001 TV film Othello, which had Christopher Eccleston in it. There
we go. A little bit of tie-in right there.
Yeah. Apparently, he had a good vision, but he was really constrained by production limitations, just like Siegel was. So I feel bad when you have a director who's brought on board, but then their hands are completely tied.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is that I wonder what it's like for TV movies, because I know that with television shows, the director doesn't have actually that much creative control because they have to kind of follow the parameters of what has been established before and where the series has to go.
Yeah.
As opposed to film, which is very much the director's medium, where the director does have like almost entire creative control, at least depending on the project.
In Leonard Nimoy's second autobiography, I Am Spock, he mentions different directors coming onto the set of Star Trek, and he said that there had to be vigilance from the actors to stay true to their characters, because oftentimes the directors would come on board and there was nothing to say they had watched the series previously.
Right.
There was nothing to say that they had read the series Bible, if there was a series Bible. I'm pretty sure Star Trek did have a Bible, but I mean, it's not all shows do. Certainly big budget ones like Game of Thrones do, but smaller ones probably not. So it was very much the actors had to be full, especially for the principals, had to be full, equal participants in the creative process. Yeah,
because I mean, ultimately, it's frustrating when you see an episode and you're like, "Hey, wait a minute, this character wouldn't have done that."
Yeah, like, exactly.
That's stupid. And so it's a lot of responsibility on the writers and the actors to maintain that kind of continuity. So yeah, he would go on to direct. I'm trying to see if there's any ones I recognize. White Noise, I believe. Which
that's with Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah. I remember when that came out. I don't recall it doing stupendously well. Actually, it pulled in a 91 million box office.
Off a 10 million budget?
Yeah, so that's a success.
Well, it was panned by critics. There you
go. Oh, what can you do? And Alex Rider's Stormbreaker, which is more of a kid's film. I remember when that one came out as well. Mickey Rourke.
Who would have thought? You know who we need in this kids movie, Doug? Let's get Mickey Rourke.
Hey, look, Alicia Silverstone as well.
Oh yeah,
and Bill Nighy. So they had some decent talent behind there.
Let's get Mickey Rourke, guys.
Frankie and Alice with Halle Berry, and Christopher and His Kind. Oh, Matt Smith is in it.
So that's kind of weird, though, isn't it?
There you go. So he's worked with a lot of the doctors, interestingly enough. Yeah,
that's interesting.
I haven't seen most of those movies, or in fact, I think it's safe to say I haven't seen any of them. So, don't know how much I would have liked them, but it's interesting. Yeah,
he's British though, right?
Yes. So they did bring on a British director to take on the film. So works for me. Well, okay. Well, I guess my question, Steve, is would you recommend this film, and to whom, if you would?
It's a very guarded yes. I would recommend it to somebody who really like. There we go. Doctor Who fanboy or fangirl, a Doctor Who fan. Like, I would recommend this movie and no one else.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that people who really like the current Doctor Who might get something out of this, because it does kind of almost feel like, even stylistically, a gateway between the old series and the new.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that Doctor Who fans would probably get a lot out of Paul McGann and the performance, as long as they're kind of willing to watch it and be forgiving with some of the issues.
I mean, when I lend out some of my older Doctor Who DVDs as well, I have a disclaimer as well. You know, ones from the 60s. Look, British TV is different than American TV, and you have to forgive the effects. So, I mean, I would also offer a disclaimer for this, but a different disclaimer. Just please forgive the story.
So yeah, if you're not really interested in Doctor Who, you haven't seen a lot of Doctor Who, this is not a really starting point. This is somewhere to go for the more hardcore fans to sort of see, like, the Doctor's only appearance in the 90s, basically. So.
I would recommend the DVD, I guess, because I did find this behind the scenes featurette very interesting, and actually the commentary between Paul McGann and Sylvester McCoy was really good too, from a creative and a production standpoint. And even listening to the two of them talk, Paul McGann, he's very quiet and he's very restrained and very charming. Where Sylvester McCoy, he's more clownish and over the top and expressive, and listening to the two talk to each other was really kind of cool. These things, I'd rather watch those than the movie itself. It's just too bad.
Yeah, it's interesting watching a film that's so flawed, and the thing is, like, you watch it and you're like, I want to like this so badly.
Oh yeah,
there's so much I see that it has going for it. But it's something about the whole isn't really working for me.
Oh, and Vancouverites. It was filmed in Vancouver.
This is true, yes.
It was subbing for San Francisco, in part because Vancouver's Chinatown is larger than San Francisco, so it made a lot of the filming scenes easier. Allegedly, you don't see that much of Chinatown. You see some of it, but not that much. But, plain spot the Vancouver landmark is kind of cool. The Plaza of Nations and stuff, Science World.
Yeah, for sure. I think that... that always adds a level of entertainment for me as well, where it's sort of like, hey, I know there, and it's interesting to see what Vancouver looked like in 1996.
Well, racing on the back of a motorbike.
Okay, there we go. There's one thing I gotta add into the things I don't like about it. The romance between Doctor and Grace.
Yeah.
A, it doesn't make any sense. B, it's hardly even established.
Yeah.
It's just kind of there. Dropping in lines like... I finally meet the right guy and he's from outer space is just 100% trailer bait.
Yeah.
And there's it doesn't fit at all in the movie. And then it kind of doesn't go anywhere.
You could you don't even have to have the romance. It's stupid. She could just be along for the ride, just as a friend. That would have been totally fine. There would have been, or even feel like, she's coming to grips. Oh, this is her dealing with the fact that she basically killed him, and now she feels like she has to look out for him because his marbles are kind of scrambled and stuff. That's fine too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be romantic. Oh, shoot. Another thing that pisses me off. Doctor's apparently half human in this.
Is he?
Yeah. He says, I'm half human on my mother's side. Which then not only flatly contradicts the classic series, but also the new series made a point of flatly contradicting it as well.
Has anyone danced their way around that one yet?
There's a couple really dumb explanations. One of them being that just this Doctor's regeneration is half human, which is really dumb.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah. He claimed his mother was human. Yeah.
He's
this
not
is actually
Spock.
No,
he's the Doctor.
Yeah, I don't know why they threw it in, and it is actually really dumb. It doesn't add anything.
It'd be funny if there was a Star Trek show where like Data's like, I'm half human on my mother's side.
Yeah. No kidding, right?
It's just like, no, you're Data, you're an android.
Yeah. And actually, to be honest, this one is such a point of contention that the BBC's own website has contradicting information about this. like even their own website says that it's true he's half human, and a different part of the website says no, he's fully Time Lord.
So we're gonna lay it out right here on the Checking the Gate podcast. We're gonna say here's exactly what happened. He's still a little discombobulated in his brain because of the regeneration. Yeah, and he's not actually half human.
No, I'm just gonna choose to ignore it altogether, like Highlander 2. Because even because even the Master said it was looking through that harmony. He's like, oh, look at this, the Doctor's half human. I had no idea. Wow.
He's like, what?
Wow.
That doesn't make any sense.
Because I could have swore we grew up together. So yeah, I'm pleading Highlander 2.
All right, we're gonna take the Highlander 2 route on this, guys.
I like your explanation. It's nice, but
well, there we go. So things that don't make sense. Just stick with the continuity, guys. Come on, that's all we gotta do. Out of 5, do you have a star rating for the Doctor Who TV movie?
1 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel
it is only due to Paul McGann's performance, which sells me on the character and keeps me invested. And the TARDIS set, I guess 1 out of 5. Fair
enough. I don't even know what I'd necessarily get. I want to say, I'm gonna go with 1.5 because. I don't even know why. I don't know. I just feel like 1 is so low. But at the same time, I think the story of the movie being made is more interesting than the story in the movie. Yes. Which is always kind of unfortunate. I guess it's like part of me wants to just be really forgiving toward it. That's because there's just a sheer fight to get it made. And at the same time, if you're going to watch a movie, you're not always gonna know that. And so they're just gonna, if you just watch a movie and it's crappy, as far as you're concerned, oh, well, that was a crappy movie. It's not like, oh, well, this movie overcame all these obstacles just to get made.
That kind of makes me curious to see John Carter.
John Carter?
Just with that sort of reasoning, right?
Oh, you didn't watch that one?
I haven't seen it, no. I've read up on it.
Well, I guess it's another episode of this show, but
we should do a rain check. I should watch John Carter, and we should do John Carter.
All right, yeah.
That's a hell of a history right there.
Yeah, you want to talk about production problems? Oh,
how about 100 years worth?
Yeah, seriously. Does it still have the record as far as we know?
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a hard one to beat.
It will be near impossible to beat.
Thank you for joining us today, Stephen. And by us, I guess I mean me.
Of course.
Hopefully.
We'll just quickly plug our other podcast. Doug is also co-host on the Music A to Z podcast, where we cover a different band a week, following alphabetical order. And I have no idea when this is going to be released, so I have no idea where we're. But I'm willing to bet we'll be going through our Canadian run by the time this episode's released.
Undoubtedly. Nathan tells me that the Checking the Gate podcast website is up and going. You're going to be up and going soon. He's just trying to figure out one single problem. But until he gives me the keys to the site, I don't know. I don't know. We'll get it underway as soon as possible. But thank you everyone for getting this far into it. And Doctor Who, 1996. Check it out unless you don't want to. But it is released on DVD through. I guess you can get it as easily as you can get any Doctor Who DVDs at this point. So. Yeah.
It took a long time. It hasn't been that long since it's been out and available. But yeah.
So check us out at the Music A to Z podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at DougJC Ferguson, or the Music A to Z podcast at Music AZ.
Mm-hmm. At Music AZ podcast.
At Music AZ podcast. And thanks so much for listening. This is the Checking the Gate podcast, and we're moving on.